Another exciting episode of Extraordinary Ordinary Women. And I'm Margarita. And I'm excited to be able to share with you stories of ordinary women, women in our community, and perhaps even your next door neighbour. Women who have had a dream or an idea and followed it through to fruition. Their stories will encourage you, uplift you, and hopefully ignite the seeds of greatness within your heart. So today on Extraordinary Ordinary Women, I'm speaking with Bec Bowie. Bec built Estabar, a much loved beachfront cafe in Newcastle. And after more than 20 years, made the brave decision to step away from it. But what Bec moved into next is where the real shift begins. A new way of thinking about hospitality, systems, and something she calls designing waste out of the industry. So, this isn't just a story about building a business. It's a story about what comes after when you bravely let something go and choose to rebuild meaning in a different direction. So, without further ado, welcome back to Extraordinary Ordinary Women. And it's a pleasure indeed to have you here today.
Thank you, Margarita. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
All true, all true. Bec, before we dive into your story, it's always interesting to know where people are located and are joining us from. So where are you located these days?
I'm dialing in from Mullumbimba, which is a Wabakal and Warramai country in Newcastle.
Oh,
on the
okay,
east
yes.
bottom of the Hunter Valley almost.
Right, right. I wasn't sure if you'd moved, having moved away from the cafe, but thank you. So Bec, take us back, if you would, to the beginning of Estabar, which evolved into a thriving 20-year relationship with your cafe. In doing
Yeah.
so, what did you set out to create, which set it aside from other beachfront cafes? And what prompted you? Like, how did you know it was time to let go and move on?
Yeah, sure. So 20 years ago, I had been working in local government and I wanted to do something for my community and wanted to be able to bring people together and really celebrate them. And I wanted to have a go at being really great at something. And it wasn't happening in local government. I knew that I had this big love for people and this real desire to build a team that would be, great fun to work alongside and that we could really do some wonderful things together. So that's what prompted me to get Estabar going, was really this desire to create space for people and to enjoy that community.
So so you came from working with council, is that correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Into hospitality. That's a major shift.
It is a major shift. However, when I went to work for the local government, I felt like I was going to work with the people. So I felt like I was going to be of service to the community. And hospitality is the same. It's working with a disparate group of people who have all kinds of different needs, but find themselves in the same space. And so from my perspective, local government is kind of like hospitality in that you're caring for a wide range of people.
Okay, I was coming from the point of view of dealing with food preparation and that aspect of it. But I can see
Absolutely.
your perspective. Yes. Yeah.
I had to learn all of that kind of on the fly. So I had a strong food culture. I grew up with I grew up in Taree. My dad was a fisherman. We had veggie patch in the backyard. So we were cooking out of the garden and out of the sea every evening. And so I did not have amazing technical skills, though, that's for sure. But we also started Estabar pretty simply. And then a couple of years in, I went off to New York and studied with the Natural Gourmet Institute to just really fine-tune my whole food cooking skills. And that was an amazing experience.
So what okay, go back a little bit. What made Estabar different to other beachfront cafes? I believe there was something significant that made it different.
Yeah, I think we just had great intentions or really strong intentions to serve our community but be part of the solution. So we worked with local suppliers. We were really keen to support and celebrate our local food system for a number of reasons. We wanted to, I wanted to nourish people. So I wanted to feed them fresh food that was in season, that was grown really well. And I wanted to be part of building that local resilience, that local food security and resilience. And I didn't want to see a future where we solely relied on industrial food or big supermarkets for nutrition. And so, I mean, Estabar had three kind of drivers. One was that connection with community. The other one was the intention to operate sustainably and take our commitment to the environment really seriously. And the final one was to just really build a beautiful team culture. So it was about community, team, and the environment. And as a result of our environmental commitment, we diverted 82% of our waste. So we valued our resources and we made all kinds of decisions upstream not to create waste. And then downstream, we composted from the get-go. So I built compost bays in my backyard. And when commercial composting facilities came online, we used them, and we still do to this day. The new owner has kept up the composting. And then we were just really mindful about where everything else went. So by doing that, we were able to really minimize our waste and feel confident that we were doing our best to minimize its environmental impact.
So they are fairly sound principles on which to base a business, and it was obviously very successful to have worked through 20 years and still be going with current owners. And how lovely to know that the current owners are continuing what you established with the composting and the minimizing of waste. So in the second part of the question, where I ask you to talk about the beginnings, and I said, what prompted you? How did you know it was time to move on? I'm thinking that what you had begun to establish in your cafe with the waste is what moved you forward into your next step, your next stage.
Yeah. It's funny because it kind of did. Yeah, it's true. So, I mean, after 20 years, I was pretty tired, and
Oh, yes.
I just didn't know that I had the oomph to keep recreating and to do another 20. So, but finally, I was just driving around one day and I got this little message from out of nowhere that I had 12 months left in me. And so I started I started looking around to how I would sell the business, and a lovely young man who had kind of grown up alongside Estabar. Estabar was a special place for him, wound up buying it. But certainly what you're alluding to perhaps is one of the things that did get really hard was to manage our waste really responsibly. So because I had this really strong commitment and this determination to be congruent, I took all of those decisions really, really seriously. And I didn't want to greenwash. I didn't want to claim I was doing one thing when I wasn't.
Yes.
And what I found particularly difficult around that time was getting our packaging right, was trying to find single-use takeaway cups and food trays that were free of PFAS, that were actually compostable, that had a low environmental impact. And the more I dug, the more I realized that what was on offer was not what it said it was. And so I was feeling that incongruence that I couldn't sit with. So aside from just being buggered, I was also challenged in that respect. And that kind of did that has prompted me to go on and do what I'm doing now.
And it's interesting because if you look back and believe in a third power, source, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, you can see where the changes, the ideas, and things have fallen into place occur. So you've moved into something very different now, designing waste out of hospitality. And stepping into something new always has its challenging moments. I'd ask you, what were some of the challenges you faced? But before you dive into that, for someone hearing about what you're doing for the first time, designing waste out of hospitality, can you explain what that means, please? Because I have to admit, I was curious. I had no idea when I first heard it.
Yeah, sure. So I think waste happens on lots of levels, but the most obvious is in the bins. So what I do most often is I help hospitality venues rethink their waste streams to minimize waste to landfill, and also to look at what maybe can we not purchase, or what can we do differently to not put waste in the bin to start with. And food waste is a huge issue there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a resource, and we've been putting it in landfill and creating. That's my puppies. Somebody's knocked on the front door.
And hospitality and the amount of food that is wasted. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm doing some really interesting work at the moment, because the EPA says that 40 to 60% of a hospitality bin is going to be food waste, and about 70% of that is avoidable. So it's either food that we bought that we didn't store properly, or that we didn't need and it went off, so it's spoilt, or food that we put on plates that people didn't eat and it becomes plate waste and just goes in the bin, or it's prep waste, and that's where we've prepped our items and our ingredients, and we've thrown away food that is still good but didn't suit our menu, that we didn't necessarily need on our recipe. So food that could have been repurposed as another menu item, or it could have been preserved, or it could have just been eaten, that we've thrown away because we just didn't need it. And so 70% is huge. And then that every kilo of food waste costs a hospitality venue around $17. And that's from ordering it, purchasing it, prepping it, cooking it, serving it, taking it to the table, all the way through to having a waste provider come and pick it up and take it away and put it in a big hole to create problems for future generations. So that's all $17 worth. And when you do the maths on the bins that I'm working with, one recently worked out at $233,000 was what potentially that's money that they've spent, and that they've made because they spent it, that they just could have kept in their business if they take the time to understand their waste streams and repurpose, or to firm up their systems so that they're not ordering too much, they're not wasting anything. And so I feel like there's going to be waste always, but you can really minimize it, and it can have a really positive impact on your profitability. So there's food waste, which is what I primarily deal with, and then organising people's composting and all the other, not composting, or commingled, and all of the recyclables, because lots of venues don't recycle. And but a lot of them have watched their waste provider put the general waste and the commingled waste in the same truck week after week after week. So there can be a little bit of apathy and mistrust out there. But things are changing, and the circularity is improving, and that there are more legitimate options for recycling to get recycled. It's a long road, but it's happening. And what I'm encouraging my venues to do is to be part of that solution and be ready to be providing uncontaminated waste streams for this circular system that we're trying to establish to minimize our planetary impact. So that's that whole food waste and that whole physical waste scenario. But I also think that there's so much waste in hospitality that happens when we don't have good systems, when we don't take great care of our customers, when we don't acknowledge people and build relationships and build community. I think that's a waste. That's a waste of resources and a waste of opportunity, and just a waste of lovely, good energy. And And for me, if you're going to have a hospitality team working their butts off, you need some good vibes, or I think good vibes go a long way. And you can really just foster that by having good systems, building a beautiful culture, developing your community, and, just being cool.
Oh, Bec, I totally agree. And it really doesn't pertain solely to the hospitality industry. My background is teaching, as you know, and that is so important. If you've got a good staff, if you've got a good team of teachers, look after them, support them, encourage them. It makes all the difference, whatever industry you're in. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you now run courses, I'm assuming, in this. This is a business, yes?
It's a business. Yes. So mostly I do one-to-one consulting. I do offer webinars to industry groups to help industry groups think about how they might manage their waste streams. And a lot of that is focused towards containing the costs. Because my concern for hospitality is that so many industries are up against so much challenge at the moment, but hospitality particularly, a lot of change and a lot of increased costs. And so I don't want hospitality venues to do this good work of recycling their food waste and pay for it twice. So I want them to take the opportunity to review their waste stream so that they can at least renegotiate their contracts so that they can reduce their general waste pickups. And that, in my experience, that pays for the organic waste pickup. So at least they're not paying any more. But then I want them to double down and make sure that their team get the value of what they're doing, and that their customers get the value, and that they can start to build that social license and that connection around their contribution to environment and their great sustainability values in action.
It's a domino effect, isn't it? It encompasses the whole thing. Just out of curiosity, when you take over a restaurant, do you monitor, adjust the plate sizes according to your clientele? Because sometimes you go into a restaurant cafe and they're monstrous, and
Yeah.
half of it goes out, and then other times you get these tiny little things. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that must be very challenging to work out where the fine line is on that.
It really is. And there are definitely those venues that feel like that's where the value is. They feel like their customers expect huge piles of food. So
Right.
I feel like that way of thinking is going to be more and more outdated. And also not possible. You can't put quality food on the plate in big piles.
Yeah.
So I don't have as much opportunity in that space as I would like, but that certainly was what we did at Estabar. So we would always manage our plate size so that people were nourished and satiated, but they didn't go away feeling over full and uncomfortable. And also, we costed our menu so that we knew that we could be sustainable and put it on the plate. And so that is something that I talk about with venues, but it's not something that I've been able to deep dive into just yet, because what I'm trying to do is get them to pay attention to their food waste and get comfortable with that. And then as we go along, they themselves often can see it. So I have one client who, just by getting their food waste separated, they were able to look in their bins and go and have conversations with their team around that's unreasonable waste. And because we can see it now, because it's separated, we can start to make decisions about it. And so he was able to get his cost of goods back where he wanted them just by being able to see what he was throwing away. So a lot of it, if you've got an engaged team, will just happen.
It's a process, it's a journey, and one thing leads to another. Yes.
Yeah.
So when you look at the hospitality industry today and the impact of your new enterprise, what have been some of the rewards of this journey for you?
Just so much. Is it dopamine and serotonin? Like having a space where people walk in and greet you with loving kindness and warmth day after day after day after day in their hundreds is a total privilege and has been wonderful for me. And having a team that you can bounce ideas off, create with coach and nurture. I loved that. That was such another real privilege. I met my husband through my cafe, so that was a bonus. But also, I built resilience. Like I reinvented Estabar over and over and over again to make it work and make it relevant. And so I built incredible resilience and creativity, like lots of opportunities to bring an idea to fruition, which I miss greatly, having that platform and that budget and that leverage to just do something great that appears to be possible.
But you're doing something great now with the waste. Did I misinterpret that?
No, you're right. I am doing something great, but I don't have the budget that I used to have.
Oh,
I pretty much got a pair of rubber gloves.
Right. Right. And I guess the reward comes from seeing the cafe owners, restaurant owners, the light shine on this waste problem and how they can improve their productivity and improve their cost retention. Yeah.
For sure. And also, I'm keeping a track of how many kilos of waste I'm pulling out. I'm helping people pull out of landfills. So my goal is to pull 100 tons in 12 months. And so I track the venues that I've bought online, how many bins they've got, what kind of volume they're doing a week, and where we're at, because I want to have an impact. What I can do in my life is help reduce waste to landfill. And so that's driving and rewarding to do that work.
I would imagine so, very much so, yeah. So Bec, one final question. What's one message from your heart that you would leave our audience?
Oh, I guess what comes up for me as you ask that question is I always, in hospitality and in any public facing business, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of different personalities and a lot of people at different times of their life, their days. And so sometimes people are not always easy to deal with, can be very difficult, and so I would always say to my team, don't take anything personally. They're coming to us because they need a break from their lives. And if they're not presenting beautifully, and it's not about you, it's about them. And all we can do is hold space for them, hold our boundaries, but be kind. So I think that's big for me right now, is watching the world, that we could really seek to understand the other or the perceived other, and what's happening in their lives and why they're behaving like they do, or what the struggles are that they're facing, and have a lot more empathy for people. So I guess I would encourage people to have that for themselves, but also for people that they might not necessarily immediately understand or appreciate their attitudes or behaviours.
Look, Bec, thank you for sharing that particular gold nugget, because that is invaluable. It's how many of us, well, I know I was at a much later stage before I realized that, and would often take on board somebody else's aggressive, uptight behavior, thinking, oh, they're lashing out at me, when in fact, them going through a hardship or a crisis, and it was really up to me just to let it wash over and do whatever positive interaction there that I could to help them through their day. Yes, that was sensational sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, time lapse there. And thank you for such a grounded and very much an eye-opening conversation today. And I look forward to sharing the story of another extraordinary, ordinary woman with you all. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoy hearing the stories of ordinary women doing extraordinary things, I invite you to subscribe and join us for future conversations. And Bec, just before I go, we can have your contact details in the description box if somebody wants to reach out to you.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
So I'll give
I'll
that to
make,
you.
yes, lovely. God bless. Thank you again. With heart,
Thank you.
Marguerite.
Thank you, Marguerite. Bye.